Steeler Nation, we are back for another great episode on the one and only The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. I am Jay York Football. Alongside of me, as always, looking down. You look like you're ready to do like 9 on the golf course right now. Mic'd Up Sports One. A lot to talk about. I know we have a lot of guests on here, so it's good to chop it up. Just two pals. We're really excited, for everything that's been going on. First and foremost, at the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy, been able to have a lot of great guests, analysis, just breaking down everything Steeler football. So make sure you subscribe first and foremost. And how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, man. I think I mentioned on the last podcast that I played 18 this past weekend, and I
Wow.
think I shot about 150. It wasn't pretty out there, that's for sure, and it was a 98-degree heat, so I won't use that as an excuse. I'll tell you what it is better than, though, at least. It's better than Pirates baseball, which I avoided on Sunday. I avoided the 1-0 Paul Skeens loss.
Yeah.
So, hell, I could have shot a 450 and still been happy because I didn't have to watch that bullshit Pirates team that continue to frustrate me because I don't really have much to watch in the summer now. It's just going to be Netflix and chill, I guess.
Well, before you know it, preseason will be here in August. It will fly by, it always does, and we're ramping up here at the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. What's crazy, you just said that, so it's getting so bad. Local media in Pittsburgh, they're actually covering the Wild Things and putting their scores up on the. So shout out to the Washington Wild Things for giving Pittsburgh baseball hope because right now the Pirates. It's just a dagger to the heart. And I want nothing more than the Pirates to be successful. But it's bad baseball, man. And it stinks because that's such a beautiful ballpark. But like I said, we have college football coming up, and the Pittsburgh Steelers will be starting preseason in August, training camp. So, Jimmy, let's get to it and let's break down what's going on in Steeler land.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah. Still a lot of question marks with this team. I think we'll kind of just jump right into it. I sound like we're beating a dead horse at this point. I still believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Steelers. Obviously, we drafted Will Howard. It's just I say you go into the season with Mason Rudolph. Like I said, give the guy a chance. He deserves it more than anyone. But overall, I just feel like this is a repeat of a saga, a never-ending saga, and I think that that's what Aaron Rodgers likes to do. If we learned anything from the past.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Rodgers thing. I would be very surprised if he didn't end up playing. I wonder how much the schedule factored into that. The fact that the Steelers play the Jets week 1. I'm not sure if he wants to stick it to the Jets. But also it'll be a new system, obviously, for him and Justin Fields. So who knows what could happen in that first game, of course, whether it's Mason or Aaron. But I really do think the interesting conversation boils down to, how much of a difference is it between Mason and Aaron if they, if either is the starting quarterback for the Steelers. And I tend to disagree with most people on starting Mason because I really don't think he's that bad, and I don't think you do either. So I don't think you're going to lose a lot of games with Mason. With that said, I still don't think he's as good as Aaron Rodgers, and I think Aaron could get them to 10 wins and to the playoffs. And I think the problem with starting Mason for me is maybe he'll still get to that 8-win mark, and you're just still stuck right in the middle of the draft. You don't have a shot at the playoffs. And you don't get the drama that Aaron would bring, but at the same time, you are still middle of the pack, which is what the Steelers have been trying to get out of for 5 years. So Mason is my third option in terms of want to.
Skylar Thompson,
Aaron, Will Howard, and then Mason, because I think on one side you could potentially win a playoff game, and on the other side you could be the worst team in the AFC, which also has a lot of benefits, that's for sure, in regard to next year's draft in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Mason is the best option at this point. I just personally don't understand the Steelers' prerogative in the sense that we said it time and time again, it's purgatory. What's going to give? Like, I think that Mike Tomlin having a losing season is going to be the best thing to kind of reset this franchise. At this point, like you said, put Mason Rudolph out there. If he goes out there and does his thing, hey, cool. And then if not, 4 or 5 games in, give Will Howard a chance. And then if you lose, you can't be like, well, at least you gave him a shot and you kind of see what you have on the roster, because the 2026 draft class is a lot better. You could get a higher draft pick, look at it like, you got to look at the future at this point. When I don't know, like, what they expect. Do you really think so? For me personally, why I don't like the Aaron Rodgers idea, he's a great quarterback. He's also 41 years old, coming off a torn Achilles a couple seasons ago. And you've seen what he did to the Jets franchise. Not that, it's the Jets. We said it a million times, but I don't want that in the locker room. I think that he's the type of player that's going to come in and try and call all the shots and, X, Y, and Z, even though I don't think Tomlin will let it happen like it did in New York. But my biggest thing is, do you really think you have a shot? If you don't, and I know this is all hypothetically speaking, but if you can't get me to the AFC Championship game and with the roster or a Super Bowl, I think bringing in Aaron Rodgers is just going to be a wasted year. I don't think letting Mason Rudolph kind of see where he's at, and if he doesn't do well, bring in Will Howard. I think that that's your best shot. And again, I feel for these guys that are aging, but unfortunately, it's the NFL. They don't care about your feelings. We said it time and time again. So I just think that that's the most logical thing. I'm not the Steelers front office. I'm not Mike Tomlin, but just from the outside looking in, I just don't want to waste another year. I wouldn't be mad about getting 4 or 5 wins and seeing the talent that we have on this roster, letting these young guys kind of blossom. I just think you stick with Mason. You have Will Howard. The Yinzer's got to pump the brakes on Will Howard, though, because this guy is I'm not saying he can't be. I would love him to be, but he's not. I don't care if he went to Ohio State. The NFL is a different animal. You're not going to come in here. And again, I hope if he does, I'll admit that he proved me wrong, but it doesn't work like that in the NFL. So I just think that exactly what you said, I have to agree. I think that you see what you have on the roster and go from there. Once you can kind of take a bigger picture look at it, 5 to 6 games in and say, okay, this is what we're working with. This is where we're at. And those first 6 games, I think Dan Orlowski said it, they could be staring down 0-6.
I tell you what, if I can make an argument for Aaron Rodgers, it's this. Could it be a wasted season? Probably. Would it be extra drama in the locker room? Probably. Could he try and control the offense, take away the reins of Mike Tomlin? Probably. Yeah, you just said it. But bring on the drama. Life can be boring sometimes.
We'll make for good TV.
The Penguins don't interest me right now where they're at. We just talked about the Washington Wild Things on a Steelers Crazy podcast. That's kind of where Pittsburgh sports are right now. So bring me all of the craziness. Bring me the Pat McAfee shows on Wednesday. Bring me, sure, the absolute clown show that might follow him around. I want it because I want some excitement. I'm not running into Steelers preseason or training camp with a pep in my step because Mason Rudolph's the starting quarterback and he's going to be out there throwing the ball to Roman Wilson. But I tell you what, my eyes are going to be glued to Twitter and, any forum, right, TV show, Sports Center, whatever it might be, all the time if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. Give me anarchy. I don't care at this point. They're not going to win the Super Bowl either way, like we said. So let's have some fun at this point. That's my argument pro Aaron Rodgers if I had to make one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it there. It's going to make for interesting television and, every week the press conferences. But
we'll have more to talk about. These podcasts, man, they will be. They will be weird. They will be
Yeah.
wild. They will be different than anything we've had. We
I,
thought
I,
Russell Wilson was one thing.
Yeah, and I just think my whole thing is like at some point something has to give. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, I hate to keep using the Pittsburgh Pirates analogy, but the Steelers are, obviously not that bad, but at the point of playoff success and kind of just like spinning in a circle, they are, because it's like it's been so long. When is enough is enough? The Pirates, fire Derek Shelton. It's not going to solve anything. We all know as Pittsburghers what the problem is there. And I just think that the problem, I don't want to say it's a problem, but I just think Mike Tomlin is kind of gone stale in a way. I think that he would have great success anywhere he goes. He's a Hall of Fame coach, great leader. But it's just, again, I feel like we repeat over and over again is the Andy Reid analogy. You've seen what he did, when he left the Eagles, and now he's having success with the Chiefs. I just think that the Steelers, only Bill Cowher, Chuck Noll, two other coaches, it's the Steeler way. It's how they operate, and I respect that. But at the same time, I also respect that when you walk in that there's, 6 Lombardis there, and we're looking for the 7th. And it's been an abysmal.
Sorry.
You're all right. But
I'm good.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that we're just, again, spinning in circles. I really think that at this point, it just is what it is. You kind of just have to accept it and, expect the worst and hope for the best.
Here's my one thing about the Rooney Way, as I'm like sore and tight over here. That golf is kicking my ass. Is I feel like the Rooney Way might now just be outdated. Would the Rooney Way years ago be waiting on a 42-year-old quarterback to control your offseason, essentially, right? Like, they would have put their foot down years ago, it feels like. They would have said, hey, if you don't want us, we don't want you. If you don't want to be a part of this franchise, if you're not excited about this franchise, we don't want you on this team. And for whatever reason, they're sitting back, in their chair like I kind of just did, and saying, yeah, if he wants to play for us, he can. If he doesn't want to play for us, ultimately, no sweat, right? Which gives all the power to a guy who's never, ever played for your team, had a connection to the city of Pittsburgh, outside of, his former coach being from Pittsburgh. You don't give power to somebody like that who in the past obviously has a reputation for abusing it. So the Rooney Way to me is now fading. That might be the word. So I just really kind of disappointed ultimately in how this is shaking out.
Yeah, and it's just, I just think the excitement just isn't there anymore. I feel like even the people that have stood by Tomlin and stood by the Steelers at this point, I just feel like everyone's just frustrated, and it's like, come on, like, do something. When I say do something, I mean they signed DK Metcalf, got some good draft picks this year, but overall, as far as like turning the needle, I just don't think that we've been there. And let's be honest, the AFC North, the AFC in general, like it's going to be rough.
Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. You don't beat those guys.
I mean,
quarterback.
So I mean, and you're going to go in. I think Stephen A. Smith said it. You're going to go in with, and it's just funny to me because now, the national media, we have a lot of national media guys. I love having them on because, we get their perspective. They're not, here locally. And even them, a lot of the guys that we have on have said the same thing. It's kind of, gone stale at this point. It's like, what are you really expecting? And it's like, you want to know what Tomlin does so good is that he'll bring you like right there. Like, we'll go on a little losing streak, and then towards the end of the season, they'll make a surge. Or, we went on a winning streak last season and then just shit the bed the last 5-6 games, obviously. But he gets you there, and he's like, man, week 5, the Steelers, man, we're going. This is the year Russell Wilson's taking us, this and that, and then boom, just everything is explodes right in your face. Yeah. So
it's relevant this year too. They have a really tough schedule at the end. We talked about it. Detroit, Bills, Baltimore, I think twice in that span. And so that's going to be really, really difficult. They don't have a ton of rest in between those games, and the bye week is so early. That's why they don't have a ton of rest. So they have a normal amount of rest, but the bye week being so early means they're just going to be, running on fumes. That's probably a better way of putting it. So, yeah, you could have the same thing. National media through 8 games. Oh, Tomlin does it again. Steelers, why do we ever doubt them? They're going to blow past
up for Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year. And then, you lose, 5 of your last 7 or something like that. And it's just falling off a cliff, just like last season. So hopefully you could turn it around. I would take a playoff win at this point. At the end of the day, am I going to be throwing a parade or streaking in the streets if they win a playoff game? No, because you said it a million times. Everybody says it. It's not the standard. But the city of Pittsburgh hasn't had a playoff series win in 7 years. The last one was against the Penguins, I think against the Flyers 7 years ago. That's a lifetime. Some kiddos are like in second grade.
It's an all-time low for Pittsburgh sports right now.
It's one
and
of
the Penguins are the only acceptable ones, because I think before that it's been damn near 12, 15 years where they made the playoffs.
Yeah, they're acceptable. And the Steelers too, but just not the last decade.
Yeah, the Steelers are, but it's like, come on, if anyone was holding this city together, it was the Steelers. We don't really have much expectations for.
Yeah.
And then, Pitt did win the ACC championship, so that was pretty cool. But rather than that, I mean, you might have to start rooting for the Riverhounds at this point.
Let's go.
They did just get a girls team, so shout out to the Riverettes. That's pretty cool.
I did see that too.
They had a really good crowd out there too. So always want to support, Pittsburgh sports. Yeah. Well. All right. Well, hey, it's been fun hanging out with you guys. Make sure you subscribe. We're gonna be, just bringing on great guests, breaking everything down.
Check out the show, Bridge to Hada. Check out that last show. Awesome stuff.
I have a lot to say about this Steelers organization. That's one thing that I will never argue, is how they operate, and just in a very professional way. I've been up there when I'm up at training camp and to some of these events, and it's a fraternity.
Sure.
So really excited to keep these episodes rocking and rolling. Hopefully at some point the Aaron Rodgers saga will, unfold or end, or whatever's going to happen. Maybe he'll just retire. You never know.
Could happen.
This is what he wants. But this is exactly what he wants. So, all right, guys. Well, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys soon. J York Football, Mic'd Up Sports 1. Jimmy, another episode of the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.